Welcome in to the Design 30 podcast. My name is Jason Bilyeu, and in this podcast, I provide design strategies and tools to improve creativity, innovation, and overall design confidence. So this is Monday morning when I'm recording this, the morning after Easter. So I hope everybody had a great weekend and a great Easter, hopefully celebrating with your family. I had a lot of fun and had a good time hanging out with my in-laws, and it was pretty great. But I did not have time to record over the weekend, so here I am recording this Monday morning, which should be fine. That being said, it will probably be a little bit quicker podcast, but I think I've got something quick but also interesting and helpful for this episode. So a few days ago, someone reached out to me on Instagram, and it was a younger designer just reaching out to get some advice about career, about university, where they should go to school. Well, not where they should go to school, but what they should focus on as they go into a design career, and just if they have, or if I had any advice or anything, I could tell them that would be beneficial. So this was an awesome question. Thanks for reaching out. If you know who you are and you're listening to this podcast. And so it's just a great opportunity to think through what would I say to a young designer? What would I say maybe to a younger me? So the first thing that I thought was something I would have said to a younger me, so I thought would be good advice to this person in particular, is especially for going into a design career, but really going into any career, try to get an internship as early as you can, as soon as you can in college and university. It could be that you even work before you go to school. That's something I was talking about yesterday with one of my brothers-in-law, that there could be a lot of benefit in actually just going and working for a year before you actually go to school and get a little bit of that real-world experience. That's going to inform you a lot in what you actually want to do. And it's also going to help you learn more about, or rather get more out of your education, because you're going to understand how it's applicable and why you actually need to learn these things if you do need to learn them. And so you get the same thing from an internship. It also, it'll help you understand what you want to do and really what you don't want to do. I've told a story on here before, but my internship in undergrad, it really told me that I don't want to go into research. That's not the world that I'm going to thrive in. That's not something that is really fascinating to me as far as material science research, or even just going down the research side of mechanical engineering. So it was a really useful experience, even though it didn't get me excited to do something in particular, but rather it kind of told me what I didn't want to do. The second thing that I said to this person was read a lot. And the two books that I highly recommended were Creative Confidence, which I have done an in-review episode on, and you have heard me mention time and time again on this podcast. That is a great book by Tom and David Kelly. It was one that I read in my graduate program, and really just kind of changed the way I looked at product design, the way I looked at being creative in general. And it's kind of cliche, but the title of the book is actually really, it's really well titled. It does help you develop a lot of this confidence in yourself to be creative and understand that there's certain skills you can learn and develop over time to improve your creativity. It's not all just something that you're born with, something that's innate. It's actually something you can build a skill of and develop over time. And then the other book that I had mentioned that I think is a definite must for designers is The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. In this one, of course, you see all designers talk about basically all the time because it is so good and it's so useful. So that one was another definite non-negotiable book to read. The third thing I said was make sure when you're at college or in university, really engage and focus on the projects when you get projects. I think those are such an important part of your university experience, and it's also a great way to prepare you for it depends if you have your own job or you run your own business, you might not be working in large groups of people, but you're likely working with someone. And if you're working in a normal, just working for a job, kind of a corporate job, you're going to be working with a large group of people or a small team of people. And it's really important to build that skill of just being able to work with others and to actually employ the things that you're learning in class into a setting it's somewhat similar to what you'll experience in the real world. So I think really engaging and focusing on those group projects is important. And, honestly, there might be times where you have to carry your design team or carry your project team. And, that also could be a good experience because that's something that very likely could happen in your career. So that's also something during college you should really focus on. And I think there's a lot you're going to get out of that experience, especially if you put in a lot of work on your end. And, sometimes you're going to have to work a lot harder than other people on your team. And that's okay because that's really good experience. And unfortunately can be similar to the real world outside of college. So focus and engage on those projects during your university or college experience. And number 4 was somewhat simple. I told him just pay attention to people. As a designer, obviously you're designing for people. So the better you understand people, the more observant you are of people, how they interact with products, how they interact with apps, how they interact with their computers, just all of these different things, observing people and watching how they interact with the world. And part of that is also understanding psychology. So, maybe throw in some books on psychology, some podcasts, perhaps take a class or two during school. But paying attention to people, it's going to help you so much. The better you understand people, the better designer you're going to be, almost guaranteed. It's a very necessary skill for designing these things that people interact with on hopefully a daily basis. And then finally, the last thing that I told him was learn how to write. Writing, it might be one of the most important skills you can ever learn. It just will be helpful in whatever career path you choose to go down. It'll get you jobs. It can get you funding. It'll literally benefit you, I would say, in almost anything you do. And that's one for me. I like to tell the story of my first job. There was literally, I want to say it was either 20 or 25 essay questions that I had to answer as part of the initial application. And these were just kind of all across the board, all these different things, your interests, your view on life, and then stuff about the position, why you want to work at this company. But it was literally, I can't remember, I want to say it was 25 essay questions. So, that took a long time. It was lots of writing. But thankfully, in my undergraduate degree, since it was more of a liberal arts school, I had done quite a bit of writing. And then throughout grad school, that was also a pretty big part of it, was writing lots of papers and things like that. So I was really thankful for that writing background, which made that whole interview questionnaire, or not even interview questionnaire, but just questionnaire for the application, not that intimidating, really. It's something I felt confident in, something I could do. And I think it honestly was a big driver of why I got the job. Obviously, you have to have the basic underlying skills and the ability to do the position, to do the job. But I think that my willingness to fill out that application and answer all those questions well also went a long ways. So that was my final thing. My final piece of advice was being able, or working on that skill of writing and being able to write well. One final thing that I didn't mention to him, but if you're listening, you know who you are. I think something that if I could tell myself to look for something when I was younger that I didn't actually do, but I think would be really helpful, is finding a mentor in your field or on your career path and building a relationship with that person. I mean, that's something I'm still kind of looking for at this point, which I think would be still really beneficial. But finding that mentor. But what I mentioned earlier about books, if you can't find a mentor, there's all of these incredibly successful and intelligent and people who just have these incredible careers who have written books. And so you can read that book, and it's essentially like having a conversation with that person, a very in-depth conversation with that person. So that's the incredible thing about books, is you can still go and find and pull this awesome knowledge from these people who have done incredible things, people who have set the standard in whatever industry you're in. Right now I'm reading a book by Henry Dreyfuss, who basically started and created the whole industrial design industry and was also a huge driver of, he didn't call it necessarily human-centered design, but what is now human-centered or user-centered design, and really just looking at the human interaction with products. So that's been an incredible book, really interesting. And, it's just fascinating that I can still gain all of this knowledge from this person who passed away probably quite a while ago. So another plug there for books, but also going back to my original point, which is if you can, if you have the desire, try to find a mentor and really connect with that person and engage with them so you can pull some of their wisdom. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are willing to do that, who would be excited to do that. And it's going to really be helpful on your career path, help you make decisions, help you talk things out. So yeah, also looking for a mentor is another piece of advice that I think I would recommend. Like I said, I didn't have that experience, but it's something I wish I would have. So take that for what you will. All right. That is all I have for this shorter post-Easter podcast. As always, follow the Design 30 podcast on Instagram, on Twitter. You can subscribe on YouTube, and then you can also become a free or paid subscriber on Substack. And let's see, I'll probably have another Substack post coming out in the next probably 2 weeks. So keep your eyes out for that. Okay, that's all I have for this week. As always, remember, design more, despair less. Thanks for listening.